You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pace Radio Show. We are live here on the Pace Radio Network's YouTube channel, Twitter, and on Facebook. I'm Al Graham, and say hello to my hardworking joint host, Tamara Cartwright. Good day, Tamara. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing now?
Not too bad. You know, weathering the storms that seem to be cropping up every once in a while.
Right.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just been a stormy year.
It's like somebody flicked the switch out here. It's like today's the first day of fall, right? 21st of September. It's also my dad's 81st birthday today. So I, want to wish my dad a happy 81st birthday to begin with.
Happy birthday.
And it's like they flicked the switch. It's all of a sudden like frost on our windows this morning.
Frost?
Oh, yeah.
What the frig?
We have frost. We have frost warnings already. Yeah. So it was like 0 degrees when I got up this morning here.
Oh, fine.
So
well, it is September.
It is. It's definitely burr. So yeah, but but it's like then it goes up to 15 or 16 degrees. So it's but it's definitely fall. It's definitely like somebody flipped the switch and went from 40 degrees to like 0 in a week. To be fair.
In a week. I haven't had any frost, but we have had a 3-degree night. But no frost yet. You can keep that stuff for a few more months if you want. You don't need to send that this week.
Right, but again, I'm close to the U.S. border. I'm also in the mountains, so it's frosty.
That's right.
I would imagine you never know if we get some precipitation. There might be snow in the mountains pretty quick.
Yes, that's right. There might be. Yeah, obviously you're in them, so you'll know before the rest of us.
Right.
You'll be able to post some pictures of it when it arrives.
Right. Yeah. There's the first snow of the year. Actually, but it's cold. It's not cold, but it's brisk.
Let's
the cannabis plants would not be liking it.
Well, yeah. We don't want to harm them yet. Don't need no snow for them.
And that's why that's why I say to people to grow cannabis outdoors in this area of Canada. It's pretty nip and tuck.
Really, harvest time is early.
Well, you have to because, like I said, we're at 0 degrees already, right? And it's like the 21st of September, and most people's harvest still aren't ready for another 2 or 3 weeks. So unless it bounces back up to 20 degrees, they're not going to finish flowering, and that's an issue. And it's hard out in this area. Like if you go a little further west, you get a little bit again. Like you're 12 and 12. It's still light out till 8 o'clock at night here, right?
Well, not here. I can tell you, it's just pitch black out right there, right now, and it's 5 after 8. So
and it's 5:30 here right now, right? Yeah, but by 8 o'clock, it'll be dark.
You keep the frost. We'll share the darkness. You just keep the frost. Yeah. We're talking about fall and stuff like that, and plants and everything, and harvesting and stuff like that. Here on the network on Tuesday, Green Irene and myself, we announced that we're going to have a yield contest here on the network. And what it involves is a plant that I put out into the ground in the middle of August. And it was just a little clone. So I've taken some pictures of it and stuff like that. And I want people to be able to see if they can guess the yield that will come off of this clone at harvest time. And basically, I'm going to wait as long as I can, leave it out there as long as possible, and go by the trichomes. I got a magnifying glass, and I'll look at things and make sure that that it's as done as it can be done without having to dig the snow around it. And we'll see what the weight is. So,
dry or wet? Fresh or dry?
Dry yields. That's right. Yeah. Everybody gets one guess. You go to the paceradio.net website and you'll see the buttons on there. There's a post there. Click on it and it'll take you to the page, specific page for the contest. It's got pictures. It's got information on it. And there's even a form there where you can put your guests in and submit it directly to us, right?
Right.
And obviously you got your email address in it so we can get back to you. It's going to run until, like I said, probably late October probably. And I can't be chasing over all these different posts looking for it, so on and so forth. So
you've got to go to the Pace Radio website, not Facebook, not YouTube, not Twitter, the website. You got that, folks? The website.
Right. paceradio.net and go right in. You'll see the information there. It's easy. And it's painless, I'll tell you. Just throw a guess in, and including decimal points, okay?
And what strain is it?
Pardon me?
What strain is it? Is it an indica or is it a sativa?
Mm-hmm. It's an indica. It's Humber Valley Kush. It's a strain that I grew for 10 years, and then I lost it. And I just happened to be lucky that 8 years prior to that, I had given a cutting to a friend of mine by the name of Glenn Prentice, who is now a reefer reporter here on the network. He moved to the East Coast, so I gave him, parting gifts, sent it on his way. You never know. Maybe someday you might need a clone back. Sure enough, 8 years later. Hey, Glenn.
That's excellent. That's a great story, Al. That's a great story.
Yeah. So I was able to, and then he brought me some clones there in July. Obviously, by the time the clones were actually just cutting, so I had to root them and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just out there. It got out there late, but it's been out for a month now. It's growing, it's blooming, and the whole bit, right? So I'm gonna run the video of the contest, okay? And then after that, when we come back, we'll introduce our guests. All right?
Sounds good. Yeah.
There we go. There you go. Simple as that. Go to paceradio.net. Guess that the yield off of that plant. And yes, it's very small. And I won't be updating the pictures because it's not fair to those who guess early versus those who guess late. So those pictures won't change any. But I can tell you, it's in bloom and it's growing very, very successfully.
Apparently, my child is out taking the garbage out. So just don't mind him.
I see that. Yeah, okay.
Say hi, Taven. You're on Pace Radio.
Hey, hi, Taven. How you doing? All right. What would you say? Time to bring in our guest?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. At this time, I'd like to welcome our guest, who is a business owner, an advocate, a writer, an author, plus. But I know I'm just going to let her tell you. We'd like to welcome Ashley Michaud to the Pace Radio Show. Welcome, Ashley. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Al. Thanks for having me.
And you good to have you on.
Welcome to be. Yeah. Good to have you on. Now, just so you know, I just noticed your volume just seems a little bit low. So,
okay. So
I'm not sure whether you can adjust that, or not, or just speak a little louder, and someone will come running in the room and say, "Hey, what's?"
Yeah, that's
what are you yelling?
I'll just speak a little louder.
Okay, all right.
This is not my computer nor my office. You guys may recognize.
That's right.
You may be visiting a fellow co-host of our network. Yes. And
yes, that's right.
And you're as well going to be a host of your own show on our network too.
Yeah, and she's teaching me the ropes, so I know what to do come my own launch this Sunday.
That's right.
Right?
That's right, everybody. You know, yeah, just as Tamara said, Ashley is joining us here on the network. She's going to have a program that we're going to talk about during tonight's broadcast, and I think many of you will find it very interesting because I know I did, and I just said, "Wow, yes." Let's figure if we can do something. So let's find out a little bit about Ashley, our new host here on the network. All right. So Ashley, I usually ask everybody the questions like, you know, their first time that they consumed cannabis, because we are a cannabis, you know, show, and we talk about patients and people who use cannabis. So, you know, some stories are funny and some stories are very serious. So would you like to share your early experiences with cannabis? Because not everybody remembers the very first one.
Yeah, as soon as you told me that was going to be a question, I tried so hard to like do what my mom does. She like just clicks back and she can go through all of her memories and pick out like what it is. I was unable to do that process for myself. So what I do remember is around the age, like I can generalize it. And let me just say this was not for medical reasons at the time. This was pure pleasure. And I would have been about 13 years old and just hanging out with friends in this little tiny town called Penetanguishene. If anybody knows it, it's on Georgian Bay. And it was just like me and my gang. Like we just hung out. And I remember at one point in time, we were actually like going into the church and we took a Bible. And this is like the funny story. I don't know if everyone's going to find it funny, but you can actually use the papers as rolling papers. So that's what we were doing as 13-year-olds. Oh my God. And I went to Catholic school. So this was like, no, you know, but everyone's got those stories.
That's terrific.
Boy, you did
that's
that
a good one.
Woo. Yeah, it wasn't too long.
Now is mom just finding out for the first time?
I don't think my mom knew right away, but when she did know, she wasn't so into any of it. She really grew up and spent even most of her adult life thinking that it wasn't, that there was no medicinal benefits. It was going to fry your brain. You know, she grew up on all that propaganda. And so while I was seeing the benefits and I saw, okay, well, this is better than alcohol or you know, any of those other things that make you hungover afterwards, it was, I didn't have her at the time to talk to. Thank God she's come around.
Yes. Just for everybody to know, Ashley's mom is Green Irene. Everybody knows Green Irene here on the network. She's got involved in 3 shows and fills in for people. And Ashley is her mother. And as you can tell, they're very similar. Just so you know, Ashley, we've already got
Ashley's Irene's daughter, not her mother.
Right. Yes.
I do hope I age as well.
It sounds like you might have been, you know, some beneficial helping hands to help your mom to come around to the side of cannabis. So were you the one that kind of like helped her see the benefits, or was she seeing that on her own, or?
Oh, she's here right now, actually. Oh, that was perfect timing because we just brought you up. I was like, as you know, it's not my office or computer.
I just heard the Bible story.
Yes, Ray. Okay, I got to get to that Bible story before Tamara finishes her thought. We got a comment on it already. Okay, we've got 2 comments on it. Both of them from Scott Granville, and he says to Ashley, "Atta girl." It made my lips chapter.
So there you go. Oh my gosh, that's funny. But yeah, like you said, you know, Irene, you grew up kind of like, you know, with the propaganda, like we all did. Like I'm, you know, in the 80s and stuff, it was all, you know, the Reagans with, you know, fire your brain on, you know, it's your brain on drugs with the egg in the frying pan and that kind of stuff too. I grew up the same way because my mother worked for the RCMP. So I didn't start smoking cannabis until I was older either. I experimented a little bit, you know, as in high school and stuff, but I wasn't I didn't use any drugs or anything all my teen years, right? So were you helpful? Like, were you using cannabis and your mom kind of found out? Like, how did you two figure out that this was an okay thing for both of you?
I'm going to go take care of the kids, but just a quick heads up. I used to get so angry and I would search her friends' bags, take their stuff and destroy it. Like I got rid of hash, I got rid of weed. Now, a couple of times I've since learned I got rid of what I thought were her friends and she wasn't allowed to hang around those friends anymore. It was her stuff. Now, when I got sick, of course, that all changed and it's okay, you know, I'm going to have to try this. I called on her for help. I said, I should what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So how do I do this?
And I remember her first time, but I couldn't remember my first time. Isn't that funny? Because I remember the first first day was impactful.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. Like exactly. Like I mean, there's obviously a tipping point where you were already consuming it and your mom wasn't. Like I said, like my mom came to me at 75 and wanted to find out about topicals, right? And that was like a wow moment for me too, because my mother. Right. So was it a wow moment when your mom said, hey, I need help? Like, was it one of those moments or?
I gotta bring it back to Papa. Yeah. Okay. So I'll leave you guys. Peace out. I've got kids. I'm in grandma's zone. Yeah.
She's on nanny duty.
She brought you a toke.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. Perfect. Okay. What was that question again, Tamara? Sorry, I missed it.
So was there a tipping point where your mom came to you and you just just kind of said, okay, well, this is what I know. Like I said, she was throwing all your stuff out. Like, so it really was you educating her to bring her to where she is now too, right?
Well, I was definitely the start of it, but a lot of what she did was on her own and also with Papa Gary too, because he was a big user. She met him through me as well. But, you know, like that was a blessing in disguise and definitely not all my efforts either.
That's great though.
What happened the day that I remember her first day was that she came to me and I was dating this guy I was totally in love with at the time. And he grew and sold cannabis and he knew all the main people in town. So I was hooked up. And my mom knew that, and she asked me if I could help her, and I didn't have a bong or anything on me. I knew better than to bring that into the house. So what I said was like, do you have a pop bottle or a water bottle? At that time, there was more pop bottles than water bottles, not like today. And so I think it was like a Coca-Cola bottle, and I just start burning holes, and I'm playing around with the lighter. What we did was make a waterfall. And just with like tin foil and one of those, Coca-Cola 2-liter bottles. And that was her first go at it, you know, and that is very memorable for me because I kind of remember shaking. I'm like, is this real? Like at the time, but I also was like so solidified in my lifestyle at that time that, you know, it did feel right. And she went all out on it because afterwards, she ended up with Gary, who was also a grower, and they got into the topicals and all these other things. And then my mom just went crazy with all the research, and she's always bookworm, but you could tell that she got herself back because when she was on the pills, it was like TV shows in bed, but then she was picking up books again. She was like, what my mentor, Dr. Dan Engel, says is like, you got to get inspired and stay inspired. And that was her moment, the cannabis, where she was re-inspired.
Yeah, sounds like, and boy, oh boy, she's charged up and just a roaring, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Now, as far as yourself, okay, now your mother was obviously against cannabis and stuff like that. So how did you end up with let's just go through like your education, your certification, stuff like that. What you've been doing when people are watching TV and you're out getting educated.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, so I obviously didn't start out with the same education as I have now, which we can get into in a second. But like in the beginning, I was just in survival mode, but I knew that there was something about psychedelics with mushrooms and with cannabis. Those two specifically, I felt had a symbiotic relationship. As even now, knowing what I know now, I still believe that. And I've learned different kind of like alchemist ways to work with different psychoactive plants and frogs and fungi. So they got a lot of cool stuff coming. But over time, I think I just kept it really close to me. I did get into the alcohol for a while. My first education that I did was actually hospitality and tourism. So I probably spent a decade where alcohol was really big in my life, and I really wanted to get back to the plants. I knew, again, like in those days that I was drinking, I wasn't smoking. And
right,
when I got the call to work with mushrooms again, I got the call to leave that industry, and I got the call to quit drinking. It was actually cannabis came back into my life because I was having nightmares, and it's a dream suppressant. So I think the nightmares were coming from the drinking and like repressing things. And then the cannabis helped me get over the nightmares so I could sleep again. And then the mushrooms called me to just get sober and face everything. And actually, and then Kundalini yoga got it out of me. And
there's been some recent research that's just been released about mushrooms and psilocybin helping people with drinking, as far as it's just come out. And here you are an example. Get last fly. You're an example of that.
Yeah, but do you know what? The men who founded AA, they were also working with psychedelics. So they knew this, even though the church eventually took it over as a sponsor, and they became the 12 steps, excluding the information about them working with LSD and their beliefs around how it was an asset. So there's really a missing piece, and that's why their success rate, I believe personally, is so low.
Yeah,
it's only about 52%, and most people by 10 years don't even.
No, because it's an abstinence-based, religious-based 12-step program that not everybody can play into, right?
Yeah.
And in an abstinence-based, I'm sorry, with any addiction of any kind, it's you're setting people up for failure.
Yeah. Yeah, and failure can be a good thing if you can keep getting back up and be persistent. But what happens when you're working with things like alcohol is that I learned this in herbology, is that if you're making a tincture, and anybody who's working with cannabis tinctures, you would know this too, it takes the essence of the plant out, it sucks it out. And this is what's happening when you're drinking in the same way, especially if you're drinking like a fish, like I was, and many people that I know too. Especially at that time in my life when I was drinking, and then everybody I knew was drinking themselves silly, and I realized through those
young days.
Yeah, some of us are lucky enough to get out in the young days.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Now you talk about you got drinking and all that stuff, but obviously by the looks of your resume, that I'm going to call it, you're some of your qualifications: a natural born herbalist, you're certified in Reiki, you're a teacher in it as far as I know as well, by the looks of this.
Yeah.
Nutrition health coach, certified hormone health coach, certified coaching master. You're involved in some yoga dance instructor.
Yeah.
Been busy.
So I couldn't stop, so this was my own oppression too, is eventually when I quit drinking and I went through that process, I guess, of like rebirth and reconnection with these natural ways. I ended up becoming pregnant, and the doctor said I couldn't have kids, and I I really took that as a sign, as a gift, a reward even, for doing this work and healing myself and getting myself together. But I knew at that time, I'm like, there's no way that I can keep trip sitting for people or holding field trips or, you know, talking about these, what I believe are medicines and sacraments, because the society's just not going to get it and culture's not going to get it. And for sure, I'm going to be put in a box like my dad was, or like many others were. For sure, these kinds of things are going to happen, and I'll be separated and I won't get the chance to be a mom. So I was like, I have to go back to school, but I knew I couldn't go back to hospitality and tourism because that put me into, like, it brought up a lot of bad habits. I wouldn't want to be around those triggers. So
yeah, you'd be apt to be around a location where there'd be a bar, I would assume.
Yeah, that's where the most money is and where I'd have the most independence. It's where most of my resume was. And I worked all over Canada. I lived in many different places in Canada, and it was a great life, but I'm glad it was as short as it was, because I really have this feeling inside of my heart and soul that the rest of my life's going to be the best of my life. So yeah, move through that. So what happened, I was like, I have to do something. So I used my pregnancy to solidify what was important to me. I started going to art classes. I moved to a little town called Dundas. It's the waterfall
center that is.
Yeah, it's beautiful. There's a freshwater spring. There's also an art college, and I would go there like pregnant out of here, and I'd sit in all their free classes and I'd just soak it up, go to little bistros and things like that they had. And they had a nice vegan spot too. A few of them, they were really, I think, early for those kinds of things, which I really loved and adored about it. And the scenery was incredible. Now it's all paid parking. Things change fast. And
oh, yes.
Yes, so I use that time. I'm like, okay, well, what I'm still passionate about is writing about food and nutrition. I care about the diet. I saw while I was working with the midwives that nobody was talking about diet and nutrition. I was meeting up with as many homeschooling moms as I could, because I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I wanted that mentorship from the women while I was going through pregnancy and spending a lot of time at the library. And a lot of the books were around nutrition. So I enrolled into nutrition school, and it was a holistic health coaching program. So you learn all of the I can't even remember how many dietary theories, but it's over 100 anyway. There are so many. And we also learned meditation, how to launch a business, and a bunch of really cool things, how to be a coach and sit with people, both one-on-one and in group. And what it really gave me was community, and I didn't want to stop. So I stayed with them. It paid for a hormone health course. They put me into a launch your book course, and they actually helped me write and find people to get what I needed to publish that book. My first one, Be the Change.
We're gonna go to break. Why don't we go to break right now? And then when we come back from break, we'll talk about your books.
Okay, sounds great.
Sounds good. All right. Yeah. All righty. Sounds good to me. I just didn't want to get into the topic and then have to stop you. So let's get you at the beginning, and we just run right through when we get back. All right. Yeah. So after break we go. After break, Tamara and I will continue our talk with our guest, Ashley Michaud. This is the Pace Radio Show. We're live on YouTube, Twitter, as well as Facebook. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Pace Radio Network, by patients, for patients, and for those who want to know.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville, and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive. The only way to go.
Hi folks, Scott from stfattiesday.com here, and we're absolutely stoked to tell you about our brand new program called Pass the Peace Pipe and our partnership with Legacy 420 out of Tyndonega. We are absolutely proud to be partners with these people. They are an amazing group that have helped so many people with their amazing cannabis medicinal products. And we are working together to gather funds to build the first ever indigenous specific opioid addiction center here in the Bay of Quinte area on Tyndonega land. So we need your help. We need you to repost this video and go to our GoFundMe campaign, because on this October 17th, St. Fatty's Day, we are going to be starting the campaign where we pass the peace pipe from one side of the country to another to unite our country, to gather awareness, but most importantly funds to build opioid addiction centers across the nation, one build at a time.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. Hey, welcome back. Just so you know, if you miss our live shows, you can always catch the podcast afterwards at our website, paceradioshow.com or paceradio.net. Today in the program, we're joined by our guest, Ashley Michaud of Elemental Growth, and a new host here on the network with a show called, I'm going to let Ashley say it. Ashley? What's the name of your show?
The Integration Station.
Nice. And what's that going to be about?
Psychedelic plants, frogs, and fungi.
All right. That sounds like fun. But first, before we learn more about your show, let's learn about what we were doing before the break. And that was on your books that you've written. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you're an author. And I believe you've probably written a few books, right, from the information. So tell us about them.
Yeah, so the first one I actually published was Be the Change. And as I said, my school at the time helped me with that, which was just amazing. It was the support I needed at the right time. I never would have likely done anything like that. I felt like that was my mom's dream, and I knew that her mom wrote, but I didn't feel like I had that. Well, apparently I was just in the right place at the right time, and it just happened, and it happened fast. Basically I had to pick a topic, and I was a new mom. I was in nutrition school. What I wanted to talk about was psychedelics, but I was still scared. So what I decided to talk about was the integration process, how it was that I was healing myself through my understanding of how it is that I might have even become pregnant, of my experiences with different psychoactive plants and at that time fungi too. And so I shared my story in that, and then I shared the work that I was doing. And basically what that is, like a guide of a year of transformation that even I went through, and I broke it up into seasons, and I broke each season into different moon cycles, and I get into that kind of stuff. I shared some recipes and some herbology tricks that I learned along the way that again aligned with each season, and just different practices and things that I was personally bringing into my own practice for self-mastery, which was kind of the goal at the time. I wanted to be prepared for motherhood, and that was my way of doing it. And this new life, because it was just a lot of change at once, and I figured Mother Nature was the best person to learn about change from.
Yeah. Now it looks like 4 books.
So I've done So there's a lot more coming because I found a way to like kind of hack that system and get them out in like nice little packages for people on different subjects. So we found like an efficient way of doing it. So there will be more. Right now we're at 3. We've got Be the Change, and this the second year I put out a cookbook of just plant-based recipes that included like the rainbow of colors that you can get at your grocery store to try to inspire people to cook more like that. And then I just published Rebirth this year with the help of a client that I've been working with. She just happened to be an editor. So we collabed together and put this out this year.
There's the book right there. I've got one right there. Just so you know, this book here might look familiar to you because this is the book that you would have seen in the promo for Yield the Plant. This is one of the prizes sitting right here beside me. So this is the book right here, Rebirth.
Yeah. So I really wanted to talk about psychedelic plants after I did all that schooling and got different certificates and all that. The only thing I wanted to do was talk about mushrooms. So I called up MAPS and I was like, hey, I just wrote this book and I want to talk about mushrooms. Like, what can I do, or how can I volunteer? Like, make use of me. I've got tons of energy. Put me to work. And they sent me to a guy in the UK named Daniel that runs this website called Sociedelic. And so I wrote for him for a few years, and I still love to contribute as I can. They're amazing over there. It's an amazing community. And the book Rebirth that you just shared there, that is basically a collaboration of all of those articles. So for anybody out there that wants to write a book and be efficient with their time, that's the way to do it. Go collaborate with somebody, write for them for a year or 2. There's every chapter of your book if you do it right, and you're on a time limit. And that worked really, really well for the creation of Rebirth. And as I said, in that time, I was working with clients, and one of them just said, like, let me edit it for you because we got to get this out. And so it was a wonderful time.
I guess, exactly. Now, some of your stuff, I'm going to say you probably learned from, personal experience or something as well. I don't know. I got something in the back of my head that keeps saying something about Colombia.
Yeah, that was a fun time. I
all I heard was Colombia. I don't know anything else. So tell us about it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, that was like such a calling. In my year that I was getting sober, I decided, okay, it was like a spiritual awakening. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that kind of term, but I was definitely in the dark night of the soul at the time, and I was walking the beaches. I was smoking a joint on the beach in Nanaimo, BC. It was a beautiful time, and I loved my life there. And I sat on the rocks, and there was just this voice that came through that said, you need to go home now. You need to go to the roots of where stuff happened. I knew that drinking was an issue. I knew I had to stop in that time. That's why it was the dark night of the soul. It's like I had that calling that had to go. And then when I heard that voice, whoever that voice is, I sold everything in my apartment. I hopped on a flight, like I was gone instantly. And it wasn't easy being back. So I didn't talk to anybody. I don't even know if my mom knew I was home. To be honest with you, at that time, I made a deal with an old landlord that I had, that I would do work around for him. There's some he had just retired, so he did need assistance with some things. And it was funny because one of my first jobs, he brought me beer, and I was like, I can't drink that, but I naturally just I opened it, and that was the last time, because I never even took a sip. That was my decisional moment of, even though it was free, even though I did the job, I'm not going to do this. And it made a really strong statement. And I guess, what was the question again? Because I totally got lost in that memory. I'm sorry. That's what the weed does, eh?
It had to do with Colombia.
That was my year of sobriety. Like, that's how it started. And I knew I had to reward myself in the end. So I spent that year studying the McKenna brothers, Terrence and Dennis McKenna. Amazing. I got so lost in all of these lectures from Terrence McKenna and books by him. I go to the bookstore and I'd order them, different books, and I'd get so excited, and they'd be like, "This must be a really good book. Is it new?" And they'd look, it's like, it's been around for a while, and they're like confused. I'm like, it's about mushrooms. What's the deal with mushrooms?
I was gonna say, what does he write about? Like, you've mentioned the guy's name, but what is his writing?
He writes. He is most famous for his stoned ape theory. Also, really letting the facts fly about like Santa Claus and mushrooms and the associations there. The stoned ape theory is basically that we evolved by eating mushrooms as a nutritional supplement as monkeys going down into the grasses out of the trees, looking for new food sources, finding poop, manure, flipping it over, finding these mushrooms and just experimenting with them, and that being the explanation for why we evolved our brains in such a short amount of time. And then, with the oppression of so many of these once known sacraments, and misuse and misconduct with them, if we want to use the politically correct terms, that would be my belief. And I couldn't get enough of these guys. Like Terrence McKenna specifically, he'd bring in magic, he'd bring in the political stuff. He was so correct with the way that he spoke, and it was almost hypnotizing. My mom knows a bit about the hypnotism.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. That's for sure.
And I feel like I was doing that at that time with those men, and they had gone and done this experiment in a place called La Charrera, and I really wanted to go there and be a part of that and live off of mushrooms the way that they did. They actually pretty much didn't bring a lot of stuff with them, so they were eating mushrooms as a food source, testing out these kinds of things that became books and even accredited theories down the road. And they were just like Berkeley guys, There was the Harvard Psychedelic Club too with Dr. Andrew Weil. I was really into reading about that kind of stuff too. But they also a lot of these guys went into other realms of like philosophy and nutrition. Terrence McKenna, he always stayed on key. It was always about psychedelics and outing all of these other things that were happening from the past. He was so ahead of his time, predicting stuff about technology and things too. And I really wanted to follow in their footsteps. I'm like, how cool would that be? So as a reward for a year being sober, I bought tickets to go to Colombia. And it was just a one-way ticket. I didn't know what I was doing. I sold everything again. And I bought a new cell phone, a Sony one, because it was the best camera at the time. It got stolen from me the first day. So I wasn't meant to have it. I was meant to be off grid in that time. But it was good because I was I was blogging. Off grid,
going into a foreign country.
Yeah. It was amazing. Yeah. And all the pictures that are out there of that time are totally legit because they're all taken from other people that have me in it, where they've sent me pictures and tracked me down later on. The book cover of Rebirth is a picture on the border of Brazil and Peru. Me and some friends.
There's a bunch of people, yeah.
Yeah, so we actually were taking motorcycles and just going crazy through the rainforest. And we ended up on the border of Peru and Brazil. And one of the people with us, Isabel, she was from Austria, and she was there as a solo woman traveler as well. And she had like a really nice camera, and she took that picture.
There you go. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and it takes 1,000 words to describe the picture because there's always a story behind every picture that's taken, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Now, so all this stuff accumulated, and I'm going to say that you got educated and you wanted to share that knowledge that you've been learning, which led to other things. I believe you're doing podcasting, or you do podcasting.
Yeah, I used to just record conversations with people. I didn't know the interview thing was so similar to coaching until later down the road. And then I'd like to switch things up with the seasons too. So I think in the summer or in the spring leading into the summer, it's fun to play around with those things because everybody's just coming out of their shell. So it's good practice. And so that's kind of the routine that I've been doing it on. And it eventually led to me being guest on some better known podcasts. So I've done that some seasons. And then most recently, I was called to host something called the Integration Station. It just came through and I launched it right away. And there was enough people that were just ready to be on board. And I practiced my interview skills. And I'm really excited to practice some more here with Pace Radio.
Good. I look forward to, because I know when we were talking last week, you've mentioned that the people you've met over the years and through your experiences is a wide range of people, and people who I guess you could sort of say a network of people.
Yeah. Yes. And we love the word network too, not because of how it's known in the tech industry, but how it's known in the mycelium industry and not even industry, but just that entire world and culture. And, and it connects the naturalists. It's mycelium, for anybody who doesn't know, is what actually, it's a network of the beginning of mushrooms before the fruiting body actually pops up. And mycelium is how the trees, the grandmother trees, are able to talk to the younger ones and know what their needs are. And then the mycelium moves those energy and those messages through. And if you look at mycelium, it's very much, if you follow anything about the doctrine of signatures, it much represents our brain and other types of food that we'd have. Even mushrooms themselves, many would represent our ears. Some of them do represent and look like our brains. And yeah, really cool stuff.
Now, when it comes to you ended up, you're putting all this, you created a podcast. Now, I mentioned at the beginning about a business owner. I don't know. It's a business. As far as I know, it's a business. Elemental growth, and how you get involved in, people for the things that they want to come and see you about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I launched Elemental Growth in 2017. That was the year that I enrolled into nutrition school. So I figured it was a good time to just do everything while I had the support. And it came to me as an affirmation. I just wrote it on my wall. I was saying it, and they were encouraging me, accountability partners, pick a name. Like, I don't know. I had lists, books filled with names. I look on my wall, there's an affirmation that I wrote. I am elemental growth. It's still there, I think, somewhere. And so I just named it Elemental Growth, because that was when I made everything, like Einstein said, as simple as it can be and no simpler. For me, making an affirmation or a mantra, things that were really important to me to stay on key, to stay focused, to stay me, was these mantras. And so I wanted to take what I wanted to what I felt meant the most to me, which was elemental growth. And so that became business, launched it as nutritionist and yogi and Reiki at the time. And then eventually that led into me talking about psychedelics again. And as I tell everybody, actually, is that I'm growing and changing with the seasons. I'm not stopping. We're all just along for the ride together,
Now, I've got your website here. All right, and it mentions psychedelic integration coaching.
Yes.
So explain that.
Yeah, so I really love the one-on-one component. I feel it's really important. I tried the group stuff. A lot of people start out one-on-one and go to the group stuff. I did it the opposite way. I figured my mom's good with groups, I can do it. But the more that I spent time one-on-one with people, the more I just felt that the intimacy was healing in itself.
Yeah.
And so I just stuck with that. I really started honing in on what it meant to build relationships and be intimate with people, and really and hold space as others are vulnerable. And what happens on a psychedelic experience isn't always easy for people. They can be entertaining, they can be very healing, they can be very insightful, they can be very connecting, but they can also show you what work is yours to do, which sometimes is a hard pill to swallow, if you will allow me be a little punny there. There's also sometimes people have bad trips. Sometimes people are faced with traumas and repressed memories. Sometimes people are faced with, the horrors from their ancestors and a bloodline that they didn't even know. And really feeling all of that in an empathetic way, something that's unfortunately taken away with over-the-counter medications today, Tylenol being one that takes away people's empathy. And when you're working with something like mushrooms and you feel everything the way an empath would, even if it's just for those 6 hours, it changes a person. And so, I was called to do it in this way, and that's really what I do. There's a couple different ways to work with me. One is through a membership where you get access to our network of entrepreneurs that includes mycologists from around the world that are sharing such amazing work, and other, shaman types and other coaches and retreat leaders. So that's connected in our membership, as well as you get 15 minutes of one-on-one coaching with me every week.
So do you do those ceremonies? I don't know, I guess you call them ceremonies.
Yeah.
Like the ibogas and the I can't pronounce. I'm not good. I have a twisted tongue on some of these words.
Yeah, it's a different vocabulary, that's for sure. I think you're trying to say ayahuasca, and
that's the one.
A really big one too. Those are both master teachers, or both feminine teachers. And so I do host ceremonies for Kambo frog medicine. You can do it as a group. Again, I like intimate groups. So if you've already know each other, if you arrange a group with local people, or if it's one-on-one, I'm not hosting big retreats myself, but in our network, you can find retreat leaders around the world that are working with these medicines. I work with specific ones. Like cannabis, I work with most of the time. I send people to my mom though, because there are a lot of people that come through, and I want the best for each one if I'm at the same time. And then there are others that work with cacao, chocolate, something simple, but it's in such a sacred way. Again, a feminine teacher. And yeah, so for me, it's mushrooms mainly, and Kambo frog medicine.
Kambo frog medicine. So what is Kambo frog medicine? For us, I've never heard of it before.
So actually has two names, Kambo or Sapo. Sapo is what the Matsis tribes call it. Sapo, they're not drinking a lot of water to make it purgative. Sometimes they do still feel pain. Sometimes they do still purge. Sometimes they do still purge, meaning like throwing up, or would feel pain. Sometimes it's just very meditative. So that's what Sapo would be. And I'll explain to you why people are doing such horrendous things in a moment. it doesn't sound very fun as I'm explaining it here. But the other way would be Kambo, and that's where you drink a whole bunch of water, work with the frog medicine, and then it helps you purge the water and through the use of water. So Kambo is the most common name, which is why I called it Kambo frog medicine. Sapo is the more traditional name and the way of doing it. And the different tribes in South America have worked with this frog for a very long time. This is a giant green tree frog. They call it a monkey frog also. And it's and it's a beautiful species. And actually the practitioners, they'll go out there and they'll call for the frog, and the frog actually comes down from the tree and sits and waits. It's a symbiotic relationship. A lot of even my own feelings around it, because at the time I wasn't eating animal products or anything. I'm like, how can I just got this calling to work with this frog? How do I do it if I don't want to harm anything? But the truth is, when done sustainably, there is no harm. This is just very beautiful, symbiotic, natural relationship. They're helping each other. And in return, what the frogs do is help the tribe members that are working with the medicine heal their body and tap into their hunter senses. So the leaders of the tribes will work with this frog over and over and over again until they have the vision of exactly what time, according to the sun, where the sun's going to be, and what location that they need to get to. And they need to navigate this and figure out this in their brain. And so what the frog does is help cleanse everything out, replace that energy with this new elemental energy, right? Because frogs move from water to land. So this is coming into the body now and guiding them and telling them where to be. And what it's doing also is bringing you into those animal instincts. So often we're looking for that Christ consciousness, right? What's more Christ-like than an animal? And what's said from the tribe members is that as you're working with the frog medicine, the frog's giving you the energy to be able to see the visions of the other animals. So the frog is actually the gateway, allowing the animals are already migrating to that place and they see it in their mind. And the hunters, by working with the frog medicine, is then getting that same vision and knows how to feed and care for their tribe moving forward. And this has been something that's been used as a medicine there to also see if women are pregnant, to help heal any kind of sicknesses, coughs, colds, building the immune system. In today, how it was brought over here to the West by a guy named Peter Gourmand. Terence McKenna talks about working with this too, but Peter Gourmand is your man if you want to learn more about this frog medicine. He brought it all here. And he was working at the museum at the time. So where was I going with this? I can't remember. Ask me another question.
Oh, there it goes.
I'm sorry. Glad we can laugh about it.
Well, how about if I give you 3 minutes and 40 seconds to try to remember where you're going with that? Okay, we'll have our break and we'll come back right afterwards.
Yes.
We'll give you some time. All right, Tamara and I will continue our conversation with Ashi Michaud when we get back. You're listening or watching the Pace Radio Show. We are live here on the Pace Network's Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube locations.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Who has huge buds? You do. If you shop at BMA Hydroponics, attend one of BMA's educational seminars and learn the secrets of growing, harvesting, processing, and consuming quality cannabis and cannabis products. Learn how to make better extracts, edibles, and medicinal creams at prices you can afford. Visit BMA Hydroponics at 404 Maitland Drive, Belleville, or call 613-967-9888.
The only way to go.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, welcome back and thanks for tuning into the program. Today in the show, we're joined by our special guest, Ashley Michaud of Elemental Growth. Well, Ashley, before the break, we had a moment and we lost where we were going. Did you remember? I gave you 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah, the train came in, but honestly, when you put the pressure on, I'm like, am I ever going to find this spot? Like, now there's a time limit. Where did it go? I took it back. But yeah, I did get it back. What it was that Peter Gourmand, why the museum was funding him, or how they were able to, justify getting the money together to get him back out there and collect more stories and specimens and get paid for his time. And it was because people were interested at the time, other scientists, in the peptides. Now, there are many different peptides, and peptides are part of the protein process. And so these specific peptides working with Camber Frog medicine are working with the immune system specifically. So they're helping with all kinds of things, especially when it comes to like the nervous system, the brain, the heart, just whole body cleanse. It works spiritual wise too, with like cleansing out your negative energies, aligning your chakras. So we've got now people curious about working with this medicine from a spiritual point and from a medical standpoint. What's happening though is that a lot of the traditional use is kind of getting lost as you see it pop up on more street corners, or so I hear. Where I'm located, not a lot of people hear about this or know what it is, but we do still have to think about the sustainability, because one thing that I've noticed in my time working with it is that you really need to know who your practitioner is, even if that means travel or whatever. Make it into something. Like the ceremony itself is about an hour, but go out of your way to make it special, because sometimes this is coming from frogs that are in a natural environment, or like farmed, and they don't create the psychoactive substance. So one of the studies that Peter Gourmand wanted money for was to find out what was in this frog's diet, and nobody would find any of that research, even though the psychoactive compounds aren't found in the farmed one. So I found that curious. That was just like a side wander too with my mind now.
So is the frog is the frog medicine psychedelic too? Like, is it like the same as a magic mushroom, or is it just what's the?
It's so it is psychedelic by definition. Psychedelic meaning mind manifesting. Entheogen meaning the divine within. So this is definitely happening when you're working with frog medicine, but it's non-hallucinogenic. So a lot of people say it's not psychedelic, it's not, and Campbell practitioners, a lot of them around the world don't want to be associated with psychedelic because they want to more be associated with it as medicine, because it's also legal in a lot of places, which is something that you don't find with a lot of this stuff.
Right.
There are some other ones that I can share with you that are psychedelic that are illegal too later. But this is
I'm not a real fan of that psychedelic high. I don't like to hallucinate. I don't like that feeling. It just is not something that I enjoy, but I'm interested because, like I said, as long as I'm not going to be hallucinating.
There is no hallucination. I definitely, from experience, believe it's more spiritual. Like you're letting in this. I think about the frog as like wearing a shaman hat and regalia, and just coming inside of your body and helping you for not hours, not weeks, not months, but a minimum a year, getting your body in check. And for the initiation, it's 3 ceremonies within a moon cycle. Another reason why I was called to this medicine, like it was such a clear thing when it was my time. The signs just were there over and over. And so it's 3 within the moon cycle. And then after that, it can be whenever you're called to it, because it will be a calling. Anybody who's worked with mushrooms spiritually or with it as a sacrament, you'll notice that too. Like there's just a calling that comes. Eventually you're building a symbiotic relationship with these things. But what a lot of people don't realize is that we do this with our food too, right? And we are what we eat. So if what you're taking in is something that's psychoactive and maybe has a piece of the divine in it. One of the things that Terence McKenna talked about when he was referencing the Bible was a story of Yahweh, who was saying we can't let them eat from the Garden of Eden because then they'll be just like us. And so Terence McKenna's version of this was saying they can't eat the fruit, not because it's forbidden, because they don't want the divine to be within them. So there was certain fruits that we were oppressed from since this biblical time. Whether if you believe in the Bible or not, these are stories that have been passed on. These are really old stories from a long time ago. And there's a reason why, it changes and updates, which is kind of weird. But there's also reasons why a lot of these stories are repeated through all kinds of different religions. And so when we're looking into things to work like Terence McKenna's, where he's going way in the past, talking about evolution, talking about the beginning of religion, and talking about alchemy, it just brings up a whole bunch more validity to why be using these things.
Now,
interesting.
Yes, exactly. Like I get little drips and drabs here and there, of stuff like this. but to actually spend some time talking to somebody, because like a lot of this stuff is all new to me.
Yeah, me too.
You know? Yeah, exactly. And
And
that's why I
it's
like
very
the idea.
interesting though. Like
Yeah,
that's what I mean. Like,
exactly.
and I think that we're so busy with our lives and our jobs and stuff that we don't look into how we can heal ourselves spiritually. Never mind, we deal with chronic pain. Most of us are just looking for pain relief. We're not even understanding why we're in pain. A lot of people, mentally or spiritually or whatever. So nobody's taking the time. And I think that that's something that we all need to do in this day and age, is take that 3 minutes or whatever it takes to just kind of sit back and hear somebody else talk a different perspective, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listening is definitely a powerful tool there. You have to be talking to the right person at the right time, and be vulnerable enough to ask questions, and also be open enough to hear whatever answer it is. It's not an easy process learning proper communication, but it's definitely a valuable one.
Yeah, and that's that's what you do. You're a coach. You're an educator. You maybe excuse me. Whether someone saw your stuff on YouTube or wherever, and they start to think that, hey, you've got something, and this can maybe help me, and it's a whole new way of doing. To me, so many people are just used to just going to the doctor and saying, hey, here, give me some pills and be done with it. Whereas you're offering an alternative.
Yeah, I feel I didn't have a choice. I saw the value of it with mental health, and I saw that it was better than alcohol at a young age, and that it was better than pharmaceuticals. I lost my dad to a morphine overdose at 17, and this was a man that worked with all kinds of different psychedelics and drank, and it was morphine that took his life. That just made no sense to me. It wasn't a normal thing he would take. It was like a prescribed thing, It's weird. Yeah, and my mom, as anybody who knows Green Irene, she's got her stories with health too, and the doctor's putting her on medication. When my dad passed away, I went to the doctor and I was sad. Okay? Of course I'm sad.
Of course you are.
What do? Give me medication. What happened when I took that medication? I didn't leave that couch. I didn't get over myself. I didn't start a life. I didn't anything. I sat on that couch. And then I decided I'm throwing those pill bottles away. And I did. And I just got off and I dealt with the side effects and I went to work. Like I did stuff. I got out of the house and I faced what I was feeling. I felt it. I freed it. It's not an easy thing, the grief process, but taking medication for things like that, being prescribed medication for things like that, that doesn't need to be the result, the resort. And sometimes antibiotics might be good. Sometimes an antipsychotic would be good. Sometimes maybe even an opiate or something might be okay. But the way that things are prescribed today, it's over prescribed. This is like people are the human experiment. You guys, it's really important to understand that supplements are not regulated, and that medication is a lot of the pharmaceuticals haven't been tested for long periods of time. So they're saying you're going to be on these medications for the rest of your life, but they haven't actually tested to see how long a person lives on these medications or what their quality of life is. In Canada, specifically, you got to think of the movie Erin Brockovich here, okay? Because that's a representation of what free healthcare is. So if you really want answers to your health, you pay for those answers. And unfortunately, that is the way it has to be. Go get a naturopath or somebody that will help you request the proper tests so that you know what's actually wrong, so that you can fix it. And you have to be your own advocate too. You have to do this.
I know myself, and I've talked to other people, sometimes you end up on, and past guests on the show, you end up on one or two other pills because of one thing that you've had to take. So those are actually fighting side effects of another prescription. It's
this is the free healthcare scam. That's what it is. It's not free. And
no, it's not. Oh no. Someone's paying for it. We're all paying for it. There's no doubt about that.
You're paying for it in your taxes for them to essentially keep you sicker and live longer. But
they say there's no
sicker.
There's no money in cures. There's no money in cures.
Yeah, you guys know that better than anybody, being cannabis activists.
Yeah, through our cannabis advocacy. Yeah.
But the thing is, the doctors are still the gateway if you want to be a medically licensed patient in Canada. So you still have that medical doctor being the gateway. Yet Health Canada still.
Not if you pay for it. That's the thing. You have to exit the matrix.
How do you not pay for it?
You go and find a naturopath. And then
a naturopath is not recognized by Health Canada to sign your paperwork, is what I'm saying, right?
They can requisition the test and they allow you the opportunity. They have all the resources to get you anything that you need.
Oh, no, I understand that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is in Canada, the medical doctor still is the gateway for a medical patient to get a legal licensing for cannabis in Canada. Like to get those papers so you can grow the amount of cannabis, you still need to see a medical doctor. You still have to have a medical doctor's signature because a naturopath can't. A nurse practitioner, but it still has to be.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, a nurse practitioner can sign.
But aren't we allowed to grow 4 plants?
Correct.
Well,
unless you're in Manitoba.
Allowed, right? Like, why do we have to be allowed something? Come on.
Right? Again, right? But if you want to be able to grow more than 4, and a lot of medical patients have and need for more because of the, because of the extraction and stuff. Like my point is only that the medical still have us by the balls because we have to have a medical doctor sign those paperwork.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to get rid of that medical doctor. You can do both.
I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's still the gateway, right? Like it's unfortunate that a naturopath can't be certified to sign those papers too. So if you want to just go naturopath, have that naturopath be able to sign the Health Canada paperwork too. You know what I mean? Like it just
it'd be nice if they would allow that.
Right, exactly.
I would love if you guys advocate for that. Like imagine that collaboration, naturopaths and cannabis expertise actually coming together symbiotically like that. I think that would be
and then have Health Canada recognize a naturopath as a signature. So that people don't have to go to a medical doctor for the signature, because most of those medical doctors, we have to still go through someone, because my medical doctor didn't sign me, right? I had to fly to a doctor, blah blah blah. It's a long story short. I couldn't walk into my GP and have her sign my once I moved here, but my doctor originally, there was no way. I got lucky in Hannah, Alberta, and my doctor there signed them. But it took me a long time, and my first one, I had to fly to Ontario because the Health Canada, and that was many years ago. But even now, my doctor now, when I went to get renewed on my medical licensing, she goes, "Why would I sign you for 15 grams legally a day when you can go buy 30 from the store?" Right? She wouldn't sign them because she says, "Why am I signing you for 15 grams when you can go buy 30? And she doesn't get the concept about the growing of it, right? That I wanted to grow my own. And she goes, "Hi, Gail." But that's the whole thing. So you still have that medical doctor hanging that carrot, right?
Yeah.
It's just, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're.
So that's something to think about as we're, looking at how to work towards changing things for medical patients. Maybe that's another avenue to work with, because again, I saw last night on CBC News, I don't know if you watched that, but they had a thing about mushrooms, and doctors are doing research.
Yes. Yeah,
and so there's a lot of research being done with mushrooms and wellness right now. And there are people that are really advocating for this. So I see it being very positive in the future, that it's a possibility that, but again, why do we want the medical, part of that? Why can't it be part of the naturopathic, system too. Like, why can't it be hand in hand with natural healing, which is what it is? It's a plant. So why is the medical doctor still having to advocate? Like, why do we still have to deal with a medical doctor on any level for that? That's, what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be that way.
So if I can jump in for 2 quick seconds, Tamara, follow Dr. Mike Hart. There is some advocacy that has been brought before the Queen or before the Majesty, before the courts, to have some things changed, which will include the opportunity for practices such as chiropractic has been mentioned in it, for topicals, to utilize topicals. So all of this is now being presented before the courts. Now, as we've learned from previous trying to get things regulated and put before, that this is why it could take some time, but it is going before the courts now to allow for these alternative healthcare practitioners to license for medical patients.
Got to be able to sign for medical patients.
Ultimately, right.
But what about a naturopath? Like a chiropractor, okay, but what about Ashley? Like, she's a naturopath. Right. Or somebody that's a naturopath. Why wouldn't they see them as, that's my thing. Like, why they should be also included in that, right? In that whole avenue.
Practitioners too, because a lot of nurse practitioners have their own practices now because they don't want to be in the system either.
Well, that's the thing. 90% of the people, like, if you go to any of the online signing clinics, it's all nurse practitioners. There's hardly any doctors that are doing it.
Right. So at this point in time, nurse practitioners do have the authorization or legalization or opportunity that, yes, they can sign for.
Right.
However, with this new, and that's why I say follow Dr. Mike Hart, and it's spelled just like it sounds.
H-A-R-T.
Yeah, and he's putting all of that information out there right now as to what's being presented before the courts. So again, homeopathy being on there, and it does show for specific licensing too. What credentials are required for that title, just much like therapist, right?
Right.
And also to that end, part of the reason why I think they were concerned about maintaining the medical end of things is because we have so many new pharmaceuticals on the market, that some of these pharmaceuticals, should a patient be on one or more of these pharmaceuticals that may interfere with the CB1 receptors, if they're shutting down the CB1 receptors, it just could have negative impact. Maybe they're medicated, like eating grapefruit with certain diabetic medication.
No, absolutely. I understand that. Yeah.
Right. Antidepressants.
Right.
Exactly. Like, I get that, because I'm on one that I shouldn't sit in the sunlight type of thing, right? Right. So,
I've been on that too.
Yeah, right. So I totally understand the difference. And I mean, like I said, my medical doctor is well aware of my cannabis use, and there's nothing that I'm on that does counteract with anything. But again, like I said, I think it should be fair that when we are advocating, I'm glad to hear that, because I think I know we have to keep the medical doctors in it, but my whole point was, right now we have that gateway, right? And that gateway has been sitting there since the very beginning with the doctors, and how we've had to fight the doctors and the medical system, and that they don't recognize marijuana even as a medical. Still, Health Canada's got, the big banner. We do not recognize cannabis as medicine, blah, blah, right? No, don't we? So we do have, I know, a court ruling supposed to be coming up shortly. I believe sometime in October, Al, if I remember correctly what we were being told. We've got that.
It was last I heard. Excuse me.
Yeah. So we've got another ruling coming out here supposedly shortly about medical dispensing. So hopefully that kind of wraps around too. But I know, like I said, with the psychedelics, with watching what I seen last night on CBC, there's a lot of people pushing for that too, right? And apparently you can get a Section 56 now to get them, but you have to have your doctor hand in hand to sign it. And the one terminally ill patient is waiting on a renewal. Same thing we do with cannabis. How many weeks do we have to wait? 10 weeks?
There's like 1,000 people that are waiting in line, patients that are waiting for approvals. There's 3 different avenues that patients take.
Right.
And they're fed up. There's 8 or 9 of them that are taking the government to court, just as patients had to take for cannabis, had to take the government to court.
Right.
And we're seeing the same pattern with the psilocybin, with the mushrooms. and they're gonna win. Like they've, you know, the present system is not working, and they got to have access to it. And I would think
got
people
such great advocacy with the psilocybin because they do have psychiatrists and wellness and all this research that they have done to take in front of the courts, like they did with cannabis. Thankfully, this isn't taking another 20 years, right? Because the psilocybin basically, you know, it's not going to take 20 years. Not with the mushrooms.
I agree. Yeah, I think I can tell Ashley agrees as well. It's not going to take 20 years.
And that would be great for your business too, and for everybody else, and for a psychiatrist or somebody like that could actually recommend taking microdosing, because microdosing, like even 25 milligrams, 3 times a day, can be super helpful for somebody with mental health, depression, anxiety. Like, and I know that for a fact because I've seen it, right, where people are taking microdosing, psilocybin and having great results with it. So it should be something that should be recommended. I totally, to get people off Wellbutrin, get them off, all this other crap.
Yeah.
Psychedelics would be far more helpful and healthy than any of these, antipsychotics that are with side effects of suicide. Oh, isn't that lovely? Here, take this antidepressant so it can make you more depressed. So you want to kill yourself.
Has anybody really watched those commercials? Like, they're so...
that's what I mean. Take this so you can feel better about yourself. But then you're just going to want to kill yourself.
Like, amongst the butterflies.
I'm still bleeding.
And here's the thing. A lot of
leakage.
A lot of the mental anguish or the emotional disturbance that a lot of people are feeling right now. One of the things that we try not to recognize, oddly enough, is that anything that's going on mentally or emotionally that hasn't been repaired will manifest itself physically. And that becomes those unknown aches and pains. And those unknown aches and pains we cater to, which result in some sort of dis-ease. Now, I'm not saying disease, I'm saying dis-ease, but that dis-ease can lend itself very comfortably to disease setting in, right?
Absolutely.
So nipping stuff in the bud by getting that using those regenerative tools that we have right here in nature that work with our beings. I'm sorry, it keeps going out.
Oh, that might be because I'm so done. I love you, Mike. You have to look like you.
I've given her my shatterizer for the show.
Oh, yeah.
And that'll do you in.
Yeah.
You got yours too.
Got mine right here.
Yeah, so she has solventless entry, winning entry number 4. So 4th place winner is what's in there right now.
Nice.
Who it was?
You allowed her to have your shatterizer, and you allowed her to have the number 1 winning strain in it during the broadcast. Thanks,
Not
Mom.
number 1, number 4th place. 4th place.
Oh, 4th. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm only the first 4.
I heard about the Bible.
Yeah.
But you know, I didn't why she got number 4 because number 1's been long gone, right, Irene? Number 1, there is none left.
First, second, and third place winners have been used.
Done. Yeah, they're gone.
I was here in day 1.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree.
All right.
The cool thing about too is if you can actually use them for DMT.
Oh,
yes, really?
So with the fresh coil, and so you can
because you don't want to use the same one. It's a very unique thing,
right? So you can actually
Chatterize going what?
Because of the new battery. Because of the new battery temperatures, you can use them for psychedelics.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's actually really
I'm sure they're thinking the same thing, Tamara.
What was that?
You have to. I said, I'm sure they're thinking the same thing. I don't know whether you've mentioned that to them, but if they hear this interview, they will go, "Wow, really?"
Well, actually, Valerie will be joining me. I'll be talking to her shortly, and she will be on one of our very up and coming shows of THC Talk Time on Tuesday. I will have our interview on that show. So, and we'll be talking about some of those things. And the different herbs that can be baked in there, because there's like a lot St. John's wort is something that really helps with mild depression. Lotus flower for sleep and that sort of thing. I don't do psychedelics. I very mildly tried mushrooms in that I microdosed blue honey. And one day I scared myself because I probably put in a half a teaspoon instead of a quarter teaspoon of blue honey for my tea. And I went to get up and the room kind of shifted and I sat back down and said, I won't be driving anywhere today.
And the thing is that you knew, like you weren't, spaced out and you weren't intoxicated. You knew that you got a buzz. And
Exactly. And it was very weird. If anybody does any boating, if you've been on the boat for 3 or 4 days, you get off the boat and you got your land legs and everything still feels like it's moving, like you're still on the boat, but you're not. and that was kind of the feeling I had with the mushrooms. I thought, ooh, okay, sit the heck down and we're good. We're going to reestablish our base here. But I've never ever done any hard drugs other than those prescribed by our doctors.
We heard about that.
Yes. And to your testament, Tamara, what you were saying that your doctor, well, why would I prescribe you 15 grams when you can get 30 at the store? Again, this is a very frightening thing. And this is where patients really have to be the first line of defense in their health and wellness and stand up to their doctor and say, look, it's my tax dollars that are giving you your paycheck. And here's the bottom line. I need a prescription because I intend to grow. And I'd like to make sure that this is on my medical record with Health Canada. Thank you kindly.
Yeah.
No, the clinic is a definite thought.
You can't grow for free. But you can sure grow a hell of a lot cheaper than going to the store and buying 30 grams constantly.
Exactly.
Right? A day. That's more than $300.
Right. More. And what about using the raw benefits of cannabis? I mean,
there's so many other uses when you're growing it.
Yeah. There's so many uses. Yeah.
Smoothies, teas, and
Exactly.
I agree.
All right.
Oh, my grandchildren are calling. I'm off. Peace
out. All right. See you again. All right, Ashley, is there anything else that you would like to bring up before we get into the shout out portion of the broadcast?
Bring up. Well, I guess I'm curious. Have you guys been working with mushrooms at all?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Let's just say I haven't been working with them, but I have them readily available for when I want to. Yeah, it's been a long time actually. When I did mushrooms, I was younger, and it wasn't this therapy stuff wasn't as far as my knowledge wasn't even involved or even discussed. But it could have been. But to me, as that young 20-year-old guy, that's I wasn't too concerned about the medical benefit of it at that time. I just wanted to get stoned, sit there and laugh and smile.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
That, right? But,
yeah, and I did them lots when I was younger, but I actually have another friend of mine that does make the microdoses, the caps and stuff, and I was first introduced to it about 5 years ago, and when she was out here during my Kundalini cannabis cup. So I also have access to microdosing caps if I need it, and if I have people that want them, and have recommended them to people. But I'm not a medical doctor, have any medical knowledge about them. I'm just going off testimonials from people that I know. So I do. Yeah. And I like I said, I don't know all the research that you do by any stretch, but yeah, I feel that if they're, they can help people with their mental health, anxiety and depression, pain. I have another lady that would take them in higher doses for pain. And I get them access to them as quickly and readily as I possibly can.
Yeah.
There's
Headaches
so
are
many
another
people.
big one too. Can get rid of a headache.
There's so many people. There's so many people out there that are looking for this information. So I think this is a great opportunity for people to learn. Here with the new show that you're going to have here on the network.
Welcome to the network.
Thank you so much.
To be able to educate not only them but ourselves as well, because you just never know. Tamara and I might just show up one day, have some microdosed some cookies, because back then I didn't like the texture of the mushrooms.
We covered them with chocolate.
The flavor.
Chocolate covered turtles. Turtles. We put them, we grind them up, and then we put some caramel, and then we put them in chocolate, and then we eat them in turtles. We call them turtles. Yeah, they were pretty good.
Yeah,
I had them in cookies.
Really well with chocolate.
And tea. We used to mix and make mushroom tea.
With cannabis, you need a high fat content, for the THC and stuff to bind to for absorption. Is there anything like that to deal with mushrooms? Do you need to just take them? Just eat them or swallow the pill.
They don't. Some of them don't have a very nice flavor.
Like you again. No, I'm just.
Yeah, but they don't taste great. Like, you don't want to really throw them on a pizza. They don't really hydrate that well. Throwing them on,
The fresh ones taste like culinary mushrooms. They taste great.
But see, I've never had them fresh. I've never had any fresh. I've only ever had them dried, right? Yeah. So, I guess you could put them on pizza. Yeah, I thought they didn't get their psychedelic ability till they were dry.
No, they do, but you have to eat more of them. But it's great for microdosers.
Oh,
you can put it in eggs. You can eat it raw. You can do all kinds of different stuff.
Oh, interesting.
I
happen to know people that have kits you can grow.
There's many in BC that put out businesses like that. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and even legal ones in BC, big companies that are trying to grow mushrooms.
Yes.
All right, Ashley. Shout out where people can find you. Anything else that you want to add to it?
Yeah, you can find me at elementalgrowth.org. Elemental, like working through the elements, growth, like growing a tree, and it's .org. Alice got it up here for you guys to see just some of the stuff that's there available, but there are tons of resources. There's different articles, video libraries. You can access our integration collective there, see what the coaching options are, ceremony, all that kind of good stuff. There's really a lot. We even have some merch. My son got really into merch with his YouTubers. I'm like, I'm going to do a merch shop, because if I'm buying it, I'm buying my stuff, so that's how that was created. My books are there. I also, if you want to contact me, we run off a Signal and also Instagram. We're on some other decentralized platforms too. So people who don't like YouTube, we're on Odyssey. People who don't like Facebook, we're on Minds. So we try to go for the decentralized as much as possible, but Instagram, we just couldn't leave, even when Facebook bought it, no matter how many times they delete my stuff, which is a lot. I haven't left yet because I'm still meeting new and great people. Facebook, the blocks were just too intense. Instagram, they just threaten to get rid of you. I've been through it so many times.
Right.
It's okay.
Because you're not even on Facebook
for 24 hours, and you're usually good. Sometimes I delete the app, and I'm just like, if they block me, I'm just not gonna go on for a day or two.
The best way for people to get a hold of you then is to go to your website.
Yeah, my website's the best way, and Instagram, we still post as much as possible. It's just sometimes things disappear.
Yeah, I know.
We understand that.
We understand that. Today, the show, your mom's show, Cannabis and Creative Visualization, somebody claimed copyright on the material that she created herself. So I had to get involved and do this do appeal. Like, she's just going like, what the F, because she created it. You know, and why the video itself, let's say, is like 50 seconds long or a minute long, and they only claim copyright to like 20 seconds of the video. Like it's all the same video, so why didn't they do claim for the whole thing? And it's retarded. Yeah. So all right, so elementalgrowth.org.
Yeah, thanks so much, you guys. You can also email me, ashley@elementalgrowth.org, or if you know Al, get my number.
Well, hey, where can people hear you starting here on the network, and when can they hear you, actually?
Yes, most important reason why I'm here. It's so new. I'm not used to talking about it yet. Thank you for this opportunity, because you're going to drill it in. All right. Pace Radio, Sundays at 11 a.m.
All right.
Awesome.
Good stuff. Awesome. So it'll be on our network pages, different Facebook pages. It'll run on YouTube. It'll run on Twitter. Tonight's broadcast is actually also running on Ashley's YouTube page as well as ours. So people will be able to see this. So, all right. Other than that, anything else before we say goodbye?
No. I got to go back to work.
You got to go back to work.
So good to meet you, Tamara.
It's nice to meet you. I'll be in touch. Ashley, I think you got some stuff that I need to learn.
Yeah, I'm in it. Connect, so just get my stuff
awesome.
Up.
Great.
Okay. Tamara and I will be back next week. Don't forget, tomorrow, Reefer Reporters, Cindy and Glenn. Cindy was probably got all kinds of stories of traveling to Ontario. You can find us on the web at paceradioshow.com. We're on Instagram.
Cindy told me about
Twitter.
this.
What?
Cindy was the one who told me DMT and the Shatterizer.
I'm sure you two hit it on.
Oh, yeah.
Thank yous go to our friends at legacy420.com, bmahydroproducts.com, Camelford Lifestyle Shop. And you all probably noticed tonight we were running a new commercial called Dr. Buck's B&B the Doobie Inn. That's right. He's got a B&B set up there. Tomorrow we had him on as a guest. We were talking about that. He was doing his B&B.
Yeah.
He's still expanding. He's got the trailer up and running. And he still wants to get the
that cute little cabin. That's such a cute little cabin.
The cabin.
Yeah.
The cabin on the hill.
Yeah. Correct. I love that. That's so cute.
Yes, exactly. And thank you, Ashley. Thank you for coming here, doing the interview, and joining the network. We look really
we look forward to hearing your shows. Thanks for coming on. Yeah.
Yes. Right.
And thank you for everybody else for tuning in to the program. We really appreciate it. And we'll all see you next week. Until then, take care.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.